All right, Grand Arena Championships are coming, and I'm very excited, very, very excited. And what I wanted to do today, I've had many, many people ask me for this video. I wanted to go through and show you my Grand Arena defense, offensive, and kind of honorable choice teams that I have in my roster and what I will be using for Grand Arena Championship. So without further ado, let me walk you through it. So the first one you're going to see here is Bosk. This one really needs no explanation. It's a staple defensive team. I will be using it on my defense primarily. I don't think there's any time I'll be putting this offensively. And it is a team that requires them to have a certain level of team to clear it. So it's just a pretty good filler team for your front line to help them, have to use something pretty good. Now, the next one is obvious. This is going to be your Darth Revan with Malik if you have him, or Darth Revan without Malik. No big deal, one or the other. This is a defensive team, make no mistake. Some people are using the mistake of using this on offense because it can clear anything. No, you do want to use this on defense. That way, if they do not have Malik or Darth Revan, or they don't have the counter team for it, or they don't have the top speed for it, they basically automatically lose, and you take that W just for having these characters. I do highly, highly recommend putting this full team on defense in your front line, the strongest territory you need backed up, basically. Now, number 3 for me on the defensive is I still use the Old Republic team. A lot of people will have this team, especially if you have Darth Revan, Jedi Knight Revan, Malik. You're going to have this team at least decently geared. You're going to notice the 5th I have is Nest. That's just for me. My Nest is pretty garbage at the moment, and she will be getting my next Zeta as well as the remainder of my gear for these Grand Arena Championships. I would put her elsewhere, but I only have 4 of them well geared, and then I have kind of a crappy T3 or Juhani. Now, if you have 5 gear, just use the classic 5. If not, throw in a 5th in that slot. I threw in Nest. But this team is wonderful defensively because of the consistent regeneration, as well as the fact that Zalbar gets extremely, extremely tanky. And if you have the Zetas, he's constantly recovering protection from Carthlead Zeta, Mission Vow Zeta, which is going applying the dodge, Zalbar Zeta, and they can get stuck behind it for a very long time. Now, if you have L3 or Vandor or something, you can throw it into this team and just make it significantly better. There's a lot of 5th options that can make this team significantly better than what you're seeing here, but this is a staple for me. It's kind of like the upgraded First Order is almost the way I see them. Now, moving on for number 3. What I have here is Treya, number 3, but it's number 4. I use the Treya wall defensively. A lot of people use this offensively, and I can see the argument for that. Treya actually does not get my best mods. I don't have amazing mods, so I kind of have to work around with what I have. You'll notice I only have 1 pre-taunt, in that being Sith Trooper, and that's going with my Darth Revan, so he's just getting Marauder, Thrawn, whatever's laying around to go with the trio. But Treya, Scion, and Nihilus, I put them there as a package unit strictly to try to make them over prioritize how good this team is, because in reality, my mod situation for them is not great. I think I have like plus 70, plus 80 speed on all of them, and it's mostly focused on defensive stats. And I put this team there to hopefully bait a Jedi Knight Revan or some high tier team to try to beat it. And then if they have to use that high tier team to beat Treya, they probably can't beat the Darth Revan. That's my logic anyway behind it, but this team can be used offensively to very good effect. It can beat, Jedi Knight Revan, many of these other teams that are out there, especially if you throw Bastila in and mix something else with your Darth Revan, etc. But I do use her defensively. Now, moving on to the number 5 here for defense. Now, this one is kind of arguably a flex team. It can go both offensively and defensively, but this list is for what I'm going to be using in my Grand Arena Championships. I like to use Night Sisters defensively for the same reason that I really stated Treya. They tend to use more than they are worth, especially Night Sisters when you have the Gear 12 Plus. I have the Zetas in the Gear 12 Plus, so my Night Sisters are pretty tanky, pretty strong, and I try to put decent mods on them, and they can kind of bait out some good teams and defeat good teams. So they may under prioritize defeating your Night Sisters and cheese you out some good wins on defense. Plus, if people don't know how to handle the Mother Townsend revive mechanic, I know I'm at 2.5 mil, going closer to 3 mil GP here now, and most of the people in my level should know how to handle this. But there is a lot of people that are at this GP bracket that strictly don't know how to handle BD and Night Sisters with revived mechanics. And if that happens, that gives you a win too. So sometimes I like to throw out things that are kind of stumbling blocks for my opponent and not so much just 100% the absolute solid best defensive teams, if that makes sense. I like to put out kind of a concoction of difficult teams for them to try to tackle where they have to have the right combination of teams. So those are the 5 that I use defensively. Now, when it comes to offense, I try to use teams that I know are very, very strong offensively. Now, I'm actually going to do the Separatist team first because this one I want to mention, it used to be on my defensive team list, and I would have used it heavily defensively. But there's been a change lately where General Grievous does not get counterattacked with his AoE moves if they have target lock. Or actually the whole team, I should say. He would do his AoE move and all the rebels would counterattack and instantly kill him. Now with the target lock, enemies cannot counterattack. Is a very, very good buff. And this makes it where this team can do good against like CLS. It can do better against any team really with strong counterattack type of synergy. As well as it can no longer be evaded. So it's mostly to help them with the Jedi Knight Revan / CLS matchup. So I now use this team offensively, and they will be getting Zetas soon, I believe. I think they're now actually very much worth it. Before I was kind of on the border of saying, yeah, Separatists are good, but they need something to push them over. And in my opinion, the General Grievous buff that he just got and the Magna Guard buff was enough to push them over the limit. So Separatists have made it to my offensive list now. Going up to the top, we have Jedi Knight Revan. This is a staple. Everyone's going to use this either offensively or defensively. Everyone has this team by now. Now, I use Hoda in this team, and I use him offensively. That way I can use Padme offensively as well and give Padme my General Kenobi. Now, I don't have C-3PO in here, and you're probably wondering if I was going to do like the slow Padme team. Now, I honestly just have not done enough research with the team of myself to execute it properly, so I'm just going for a standard Padme team, and I'm going to be using my standard Padme team to just defeat whatever I believe I can do it with. I'm not going to be trying to snipe Darth Revan teams or anything with it until I get to the higher brackets or to the more difficult teams, and then I'm going to have to buckle down and learn that matchup. But for now, I'm just using the Padme team with General Kenobi and Ayla because it's who I have, and Snips, Anakin, Padme's got all their Zetas, 7 stars. Snips is about to be Gear 12. She's got 1 piece left to go. So I use those 2 teams there. Now, CLS is an obvious offensive staple. I actually don't divide up the C-3PO like I was mentioning earlier, or the R2-D2, and I don't give them the Resistance team. I like to have the full, complete Rebels team available to me. I believe it's one of my strongest, if not my strongest, offensive team right next to Jedi Knight Revan, and I like to have that full range of power with the Rebels when I use them offensively, plus the team it just synergizes really nice, and there's something satisfying about using the full Rebels team. Now, I use this team to clear out anything that I'm really getting scared of, anything that I think there's a chance that I'm going to lose. I normally just throw in Rebels to guarantee that first-time victory bonus. Now, moving along to my 5th one here, it is a JTR Resistance team. Now, this one used to have my C-3PO and R2-D2 in it, but I threw them back into the Rebels team, as I was mentioning prior, because now I have Finn and Resistance Trooper, Scavenger Ray, BB-8. I can make a somewhat decent Resistance team, and honestly, I believe that the JTR Resistance team, until Episode 9 anyway, has been pushed down in relevance to the point that I'm going to start pulling top tier characters out of that team and slotting them into better teams like the Padme team, the Rebels team, etc. So for that reason, I'm using what you're seeing here. So these are my 5 that I use offensively and to some good effect. Now, these aren't the only 5. There are some flex picks here, which I'll go over briefly. I do have Ewoks, and I opened a flex a bracket here because I wanted to show you that these can be used either way. I use Ewoks either offensively or defensively, depending on the mood, depending on their roster. Now, I do prefer heavily to use Ewoks offensively, Ewoks offensively if I can, mostly because I know they're a fantastic counter to the First Order, and they can shoot through some First Order teams, but mostly because I just enjoy playing them. I really enjoy the team almost more than almost any other team. Now, the Empire team you see here is flex for me as well. Sometimes I would just throw Vader on the Old Republic team to be like a massive heal, because you can actually cheese some huge heals using Vader's Force Crush in the Old Republic team, and I'll throw Palpatine under Traya lead, something like that. I'll break up this team. You don't see Thrawn here because I have it under my Traya, but this is a flex picks for me. Sometimes I do use them offensively with this cheesy free-to-play one you see here to kind of chew through some of the lesser teams to probe droid down somebody. Now, you're going to also notice Rex lead with Wampa. Everyone knows what this is for. This was getting Phoenix for OG Rebels. This is for any time they decide to, pop their head up with some undergeared Rebels or Rebels that can't solo down Wampa. And then, of course, we have everyone's favorite Phoenix, which are basically trashed here at this point that you just throw in wherever you can fit them. Couple honorable mentions here. If I had Jango Fett, he'd replace my IG-88. Barriss would go on my Padme team if she was Zeta and I had her fully done. She would probably become a defensive team. L3 and Vandor could go on my Old Republic team and make them stronger. And Kiara would then take my nest and be offensive if I had those options. So those are upgrades that are yet to come. If you have these characters, congratulations. They probably make the list no problem. So let me know what you thought about the characters I'm going to be using. We have Grand Arena Championships coming up in only 50 minutes. So I'm extremely excited to be bringing more Grand Arena Championship content to you in video form. Please subscribe if you would like to see more of that. I actually was looking through the analytics the other day, and I noticed there was like 63% or something of like my regular viewers, like the ones who constantly watch, just aren't subscribed because they forget, or they just find my videos regularly and they watch it that way. So subscribe to make yourself easier on you, and it does help me out a lot too. So cheers. I hope you guys all have a great day now, and go win your Grand Arena Championships. I'm going to try to win mine.